this officially how we kick off the Nepal-US Hackathon 2026. Yay! Can I get a clap from everyone? Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. And for those who don't know me, I am Prapti Sankar, your host for the Nepal-US Hackathon 2026. So before we begin, right, let's do a quick activity. And I know not all of us are extroverts, but if we could please turn on our cameras, we would actually love to get to know you and I don't know, see your expressions as we go. So please, if I could just get everyone's cameras. Thank you so much, guys. And for the activity, can you please like in the chat drop your name and have you ever done a hackathon before? Yes or no, real quick. I would love to get to know where we're from and if this is your first time or not. So I'm looking at the chat. Thank you. And thank you so much for listening to me. Hello. First time, okay. First time from Arjun. Oh, did a hackathon once. Hi, Arjun. Hi, Pritis Dubey. He's done it third time. Wow, Rishabh, the fifth time. That's amazing. Third, first, fifth. You know what? Be it your first hackathon, your third hackathon, your fifth hackathon, or your 10th hackathon, you can always learn something from it. And that's what we're here for, right? And we have two amazing workshop leaders joining us today who will help you do that. So, first of all, we have Ms. Christina Kayasta. Christina D is a principal software engineer at Vista Print, an MIT system design and management fellow, and an accomplished technologist named on 11 patents. She has delivered conference talks across the United States and internationally. And she has also won a dozen of hackathons. Can you believe that? 12 hackathons. And she will also be serving as one of US Hackathon 2026. So she might actually be sharing some insider secrets here. You might want to take note of that. Joining her is Mr. Vinam Kayasta, senior software engineer at years of industry experience, a full stack developer across DevOps, data engineering, backend, and front end systems. He has won 8 hackathons and has also organized and mentored multiple hackathons, including our hackathon, the Nepal-US Hackathon 2026. I also had the opportunity of interviewing Binam Dai before, so I can confidently vouch for him. He's such an amazing and eloquent speaker. So this session is going to be amazing. All right. So super excited for all of you to learn from them. And like we said, right, this workshop is basically a prerequisite for the upcoming hackathon happening from March 27 to 29. So by the end of this workshop, you learn how to identify and shape a strong idea quickly, turn that idea into a focused prototype within the limited time, because of course, hackathons are under pressure and time limit. So work effectively as a team under hackathon pressure, and finally deliver a demo that actually stays with the judges and stands out to them. And most importantly, we have two people who've done this again and again and again and won again and again and again and are willing to tell us how they did it. So again, thank you so much, Binandai, Krishna D, for agreeing to this. Thank you so much to everyone who showed up. And a quick note, at 10 p.m. ET, once the workshop ends, the organizing team will be staying behind for FAQs. So if you have any questions regarding the hackathon, any technical questions or anything related to it, please feel free to stay back and talk with us. And with that, I think I'm yapping a lot. I'll see you again. Thank you so much. Over to you, Vinamda and Krishnadi. Thank you so much, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction, Prapti, and thank you so much to all the organizers. So actually, before we get started, congratulations, first of all, to everyone that made it here. I heard there were like 1,000 applicants, which is like mind-blowing. And so congrats on making it so far. That's already a win. But also like there has been so much work going on behind the scenes and it has been amazing. Just like I've just been following on Instagram. Like they're posting every day, like, oh yeah, like we did this, we did that. So if everyone could just give like a thank you to all the organizers, like in the chat, like I really appreciate all of your time. So thank you for organizing this and having us here.
Yeah, and I've organized a hackathon before. It is not easy. There is a lot of work that goes into it, and this one's way bigger than any hackathon I've organized before. So it's cool to see it progressing, especially it's the growth from last year and its continued growth. Yeah, it's very, very impressive the amount of work that they've done.
Yeah. So I hope you guys are excited. We are. Real quick. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I'm Christina. I'm a principal software engineer. I work at Vistaprint, and I'm also doing my master's at MIT. So it's in system design and management. And this is my brother.
Oh,
Oh, oops.
your
That's not my
brother.
brother. That's not my brother. This is my brother. Oh, wait, no, wait. It went too far. Okay, there we go.
I'm Beanam. Hello, everyone. I'm a senior software engineer. I've been in the industry for 7 years, and I currently work for Klaviyo.
So I know in the introduction, Prabhu mentioned we've won a ton of hackathons. We have. Um,
Yeah, we've also mentored, organized, judged a lot of different hackathons as well. We have 15 hackathons wins. Some of them we won together, some of them us
yeah.
independently, but that's our total.
Yeah. And looking at these stats, you might think like, oh yeah, like this looks amazing, right? But honestly, like everyone starts somewhere. And so I wanted to take you back to my first hackathon. I think this was Beenam's second hackathon, but it was our first hackathon together. So once upon a time, I too went to undergrad. I did my bachelor's of science in computer science. And after I graduated, I started working as a software engineer. And I remember I was like about a year into working as a professional software engineer, right? Like people were paying me to do this work. I was writing code, but I always felt like I didn't really know what I was doing. And so like my friends would say like, hey, like, do you want to build an app together? And I'd be like, I have no idea how an app works. Like, I don't know how I would start building it. I didn't know how to build a website. I didn't know how deployments work. Even though I was working as an engineer, because I was working as part of a big company, I was only exposed to a very small part of the software. I actually didn't even know how to use Git because we used some internal software versioning system at the time. And so one day, a bunch of my work friends like came up to me and they're like, "Oh yeah, hey Christina, like, do you want to go to a hackathon? We're going to go to it this weekend." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, but what's a hackathon?" And so they were like, "It's fine, Christina, just tag along." I was really nervous, and so naturally, I turned to my brother and I was like, "Can you please come with me?"
Yeah, and at the time I had done one hackathon at school. But yeah, I was like, Christina Didier I just follow everywhere where she goes, so I just tagged along.
Um,
And then the hackathon that we went to at the time was Angel Hacks 2015. And the theme at the time was called Turning Thoughts into Things. And just like the whole concept of like having an idea in your head and then building it into something tangible that you can actually see and use was just very inspiring to us. And I think this theme that they had for this hackathon, it applies to all hackathons and honestly all software projects in general. And it's very inspirational.
Yeah, so when we started the hackathon, we brought our laptops. This was an in-person hackathon, so it was like somewhere downtown Boston, some office building. And so in the beginning, like everything was fine, right? Like we split off into teams. Binam and I worked with like one of my work friends and some other random person that joined us. And then a few of my other friends were like on a different team. And I remember when we started, everything was fine, but somewhere in the middle of this, things started going sideways. As I mentioned, like I'd never built an app before. I'd never like really worked with Git before. This is like really my first sort of software project that I was doing outside of work. And I remember feeling so embarrassed. Like I was with all of my work friends too, right? And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like nothing's working. We were using Android Studio because Beenam had it set up for some other project. I didn't know how to get Android Studio working on my computer. We spent half of the first day. So this was over a weekend, right? Similar to this one, Saturday, Sunday. We spent half of Saturday just debating what we were going to build. And so by the time we got started, we were already, behind. I remember it was like midnight on Saturday, and we were all like kind of working. Like the room was all like quiet. You could hear like typing. A few people were snoring, like a few people were sleeping. And outside there was like this huge crowd of party goers, right? Like I guess there was like some event or something and people were leaving. And I was like sitting and the contrast was like crazy, right? And I was sitting there thinking like, what am I doing? Like, why am I spending my Saturday on this? Like I'm just like torturing myself for no reason, right? But we kind of like we worked through it. And on the Sunday at the end of the day, we had presentations.
And so I went to sleep as Christina Didi was hacking all night. And so I did the presentations because I was, I had some rest in me. And I remember it being very nerve-wracking. Like I had done one hackathon before at school, but it was like 20 people and mostly just like friends and stuff. So it was like chill. But at this event, there was like 200 people and they were all people I didn't know and they were all older than me. And I was just like very nervous. But at the same time, I felt very empowered because um, I was able to present our idea. And at the end of that hackathon, we did have like a janky but like kind of working prototype of an app that would scan a barcode and then show kind of the ingredients list, and based on your allergies, it would tell you whether or not you can eat it or not. And it was kind of like cool to like show this project and like show it to like all these people I didn't know, and like I felt very empowered, and it was a very good experience. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was yeah, like just to add to that as well, like I think when we were sitting there, like I just felt like I want to be up on that stage, like presenting something that is so polished that it looks like someone has worked on it for months. I want to be able to take an idea and turn it into something that I could launch to an app store in the span of a weekend. So it was like the vision, like that we wanted to be those people that were doing amazing things. And so we took two slightly different approaches as in our hackathon journey. I don't know if you've seen this comic, but it's about type A and type B personalities. And the type B person is like, hey, like slow down, friend. And you got to smell the flowers. And the type A person is like aggressively smelling all the flowers. And so if you can guess, one of us is more type A and the other is slightly more type B. So I took the type A path. And so what I did was I was like, okay, that hackathon I felt miserable in the middle of it, but by the end, I couldn't wait to do another one. I was like, I learned so much during those 2 days. I learned more during those 2 days than I'd learned in the last 2 months of working. And so I was like, okay, I want to be able to do this like a lot. And so I just looked at like every single hackathon that was in my area. I signed up for every single one I could find. That first year that I was doing this, I was at a hackathon nearly every other weekend. And my goal was, like I want to learn one new thing every single time. Like I don't want to repeat anything, nor repeat projects. I'm going to start a new project every single time, whether I'm learning like MongoDB, like database stuff, whether I'm learning like web application, like new front-end frameworks. Every single time, my goal was not to win, but to learn. And so by the end of that first year, my win rate was like 40%. And in the beginning, like I went from like not winning at all, like barely succeeding, kind of feeling miserable the whole time, but then also feeling kind of like, like I'm growing. Towards the end, I was like winning a lot because like I kind of like figured out how to organize myself, how to pitch, how to build something. And so to me, this was like my success story. So we wanted to also share with you like a bunch of examples of projects just to give you some inspiration about the kinds of things that you can do in like a short amount of time.
So one of the winning projects was called the Sonar for the Blind was our project, and so we got to play with these like really cool VR headsets called the HoloSens, made by Microsoft. They were sorry, the HoloLens. They were like not even released to the public at the time, so we got to like test them for the first time, and like it was really cool. It like mapped out the room, and it could like have like little VR creatures that were like jumping around your tables and stuff, and we took that device and then we closed our eyes and then we made an echolocation app. So we used the mapping to like detect where the objects were, and based on where the objects were, it would like respond to you in different like frequencies and sound levels. And you could walk around the room with this headset on with your eyes closed and like be completely fine and not bump into anything. So that was like one of our favorite projects. It was really cool. Excited. Another project that was really cool was a one arm band. So we were trying to make a full musical instrument on one arm. So we had this like Mio band that would detect kind of like your gyroscope of your hand, and also a custom built like pad that had capacitive touch sensors. That was just like aluminum foil with a wire connecting to to an Arduino Uno or something like that, and you could like click it to play different musical instruments.
This was another project. So for all of these, like we didn't go in knowing how to use the technologies, right? So for example, for this one, someone like presented and was like, I have this Amazon Alexa, I want to hack it, but I don't know how to do that. I'm not a coder. And they're like, but I have this device if you want to play with it. I was like, oh yeah, like we were like, okay, like let's try it. We had never used an Amazon Alexa. Like we didn't know even if you could program it. We figured there must be a way to do it. And so we started, we just started from scratch there. We also had like an emergency room doctor join us, and he was saying like one of the big problems they have in emergency rooms is it takes so much time to pull up patient test results and patient data in the UI that they have, like the computer screen. And so they wanted a way to be able to talk to a device and say like, hey, like pull up the patient's latest blood test results, and then it would kind of pop up in the screen. So we built a proof of concept for it in one of the hackathons, and then a few of us decided to continue it beyond the hackathon. So that's also something to consider is like the hack doesn't have to end on Sunday. You can continue it. So we took a group and we competed in a second hackathon that was also focused on healthcare, but it was using a different electronic health record system called Epic. Anyway, so we won that. And so we're like, okay, I think we have something here. So I worked with the team in order to build a prototype. And then we used that as we applied to compete in the MIT 100K. This is like a startup competition. And so we were like semifinalists in one of the I forget, one of the earlier rounds, like pitch or launch or something. And so in here, the cool thing was like, although I didn't know anything about healthcare and my teammates didn't know anything about coding, we ended up like working together to make something that neither of us could have done alone. So there was a person in business, a person in the ER person, there was a designer, there was me. And so we built like a prototype that, could end up being really impactful. And so the team decided to continue to then use that in order to establish a startup in Mass Challenge. At this point, I did drop out, but I felt really proud that like the code that I wrote was able to enable this startup to actually launch. This is another sort of startup-y project. I went with a bunch of my work friends, and the prompt was like, can you do anything to save energy? And so we built this like gamified energy saving app called Energy Bee. It would basically like say like how much money you've saved compared to your neighbors or whatever. And so the idea was like you save money and the environment. So we won the hackathon. And then we were invited to this Hackcelerator. So some hackathons have this like post-hackathon, like how do you take your hackathon to the next level? And so we did a bunch of presentations. We learned how to form a startup, how to, establish patents, stuff like that. And so this one, we ended up stopping after the Hackcelerator because the main APIs that we were using ended up not working out. But I feel like I learned a lot about how to get started and how to turn something into the, next stage of a startup. This one was probably the one I took furthest. So I went to a hackathon that was organized by Spalding, which is a rehabilitation hospital here in Boston. And so someone that was pitching was a physical therapist, and she came up and she said, I have a problem. My problem is that a lot of my patients actually miss physical therapy appointments because there's no parking in Boston. And if you know Boston, it is tiny, it is terrible to find parking, and finding accessible parking is even more difficult. So she got a group of volunteers before this hackathon and walked around Boston and physically like mapped out like all of the parking spots. And she was like, I have this data, but I don't know how to make it useful for my patients. And so during the hackathon, I worked on an app prototype that would take all of her data and show it on a map. So we won the best design award here, and one of the prizes was we got to work with a user experience firm called MadPow in order to further develop our app, right? So they helped us basically test our application with real customers. And so this was a really cool experience. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this, but if you ever, in like TV shows, you'll see like one-way glass, right? So here on the other side is the user tester and a sample customer that we brought in. And we're sitting on the other side. So the person doesn't know that we're watching them. And so basically the user experience person will say like, hey, like, how would you use this app? Like, can you try to navigate to a particular parking spot? What did you find easy or difficult? And so it's a way for us to test out our prototype before we even like launch it. We continued, we got a grant from the Attorney General's office in order to continue this. We ran a second set of usability tests at the hospital, and it was really like eye-opening working directly with people with different mobility impairments. Anyway, I really love this project. This was the head of innovation at Spalding Hospital, and so we ended up sort of like handing over-ish the app to the hospital. I don't think it's gone too far since then, but again, this was another one where at least we like built something, we tested it out. Like one of the challenges was people were worried that when they get to the parking spot, we don't have sensors to know whether that spot is actually available or not. And so we ended up sort of fizzling out there. But these are just to give you some ideas of like there's so many things you can do like during the hackathon, but also there's so much you can do after the hackathon. So definitely consider, if you feel like your project has some potential, then don't stop at the end of the weekend. So yeah, we did a lot of hackathons.
Cool. And on the other end of the spectrum, I'm very much a type B person, just like relax, have a good time, that kind of thing. And so the type of events that I went to were more like networking and social. So I just look at different like coding events in the area and try to meet people and have fun. And so one of these networking events is called Code and Coffee. I think we have someone's microphone unmuted. Yeah, it was Code and Coffee, and it's just a networking event where you go and chat to people about their projects, you talk about your projects, and I saw this like Lego board, and I was just like trying to make the Nepali flag, and then so a couple of different people like joined in and tried to help me as well, and we got it done, which was a lot of fun. And I actually met someone who's Nepali there as well. Um, and I also go to a lot of different events that have like themes. So this one was like computer vision, but this is just like a 1 day event where it's not like a hackathon. There are no prizes. No one's like winning. But it's just like fun to like work on projects together. So I was really inspired by Iron Man, where he like moves stuff around to make his Iron Man suit. I don't have an Iron Man suit, but I do have like 2D photos, and so I really wanted to build something to like navigate all of my photos in a way that's just not scrolling because that's kind of boring. And so I had like this website and detected my hand gestures, and you can like kind of navigate around the different photos that you have. I want to expand on this, but it was just like fun to work on this in like in a low pressure way. There's a couple other hacks
Okay,
I've
you go.
worked on.
Let's test it. Yeah.
So hackathons don't, or hacks or hackathons or projects or whatever don't always have to be software. I've been working on trying to make my own writer deck. For those of you who don't know, it's like this mini computer that's not connected to the internet. It's just for like writing novels and journals, and you can like type without distraction. I've been working on it on my own for a long time, but I kept getting stuck because it's a complicated project. And so I like pitched this at an electronics event, and there were like 6 different people that came in and like was willing to help me. And so that little video clip was us like getting that working for the first time, and everyone was like, "Yay!" It was just like fun to like collaboratively like work on this. And I'm still working on this project on my own in my free time. So I have like this larger screen that I'm soldering there, and I want to connect it up and like make it a real product at some point. Another hack that I went to, or another event that I went to, was this like quantum computing one. It was very complicated, and there were like a bunch of people who were like masters, PhDs, and like they were explaining basic like matrix math to me because I like didn't remember how to do that. But there's like this funny like set of photos on the left where it's like this was the room in the beginning where everyone was trying to understand quantum computing, and like as the day goes on, there's less and less people. And at the end, there's like only 3 people, and I was like one of the last 3 people that was still trying to understand how this worked. But at the end of that event, I spent like 30 minutes, next slide, please, trying to like visualize this because I really wanted to understand what a qubit was. So in quantum computing, I'm just going to explain this real quick. It's okay if you don't get it. But in quantum computing, when you like modify bits like qubits, they can be resulting in a probabilistic result of like a one or a zero. So instead of it being a one or a zero, it's like a 50% chance one or a 50% chance zero. And it's like based on this like sphere. So you can like rotate the qubit to be like in the middle, in which case it can be either a zero or one 50% of the time you run this application. But like I didn't understand this. Like it took me to really understand a long time to like visualize and understand what was going on. So like quickly like hack this together at the end of the day. I think it only took like 30 minutes because it's like playing around with like codecs and like all the LLM stuff. But it was like really cool and nice to visualize. Yeah, spin is very confusing. Um, this is another project that I have a long-running project I'm working on with a group of volunteers. I actually just came out of a meeting for this project, but it's I've been thinking a lot about like trying to help local shelters, and this project came up where right now, especially in the Boston area, there's a lot of pets in shelters and they're like running out of space. So we wanted to help those pets like be more easily adopted. And so we made this like social media bot that's like posting these pets every 4 hours that are adoptable in the area, and like we hope this will like help ease the burden. But this is kind of like what my style is all about, like working on projects with a group of people in a community. And this picture is really funny. At this particular day, like we had like 7 volunteers and we all went into the red line, and it was just funny that we were all taking the same thing, so I took a selfie. But yeah, just doing fun projects together with the community.
Yeah, so I think we've shared a lot of projects, just like a whirlwind there of different types of technologies that you can play around with, different kind of ideas. Like you can see the sky's the limit. But I also know, like in the chat, we saw that this is a lot of people's first hackathons or second hackathons. And so I just want to kind of go back to it all started for me and for us, like at our first hackathon, right? And that first hackathon usually doesn't go according to plan. The first few really don't. But, we talk about like happiness needs sadness in order to make sense. And it's the same kind of idea. That struggle is all part of the journey. And so if you're like having a painful moment during that weekend, just, like I'm with you. I get it. Like, we totally understand. Just try to have fun. Think about like what you want to build. Like, don't try to box yourself into like one area or another. Really push yourself this hackathon to think about like what is it that you want to do that's different, that's new, that you'll enjoy, that you'll grow from. And so yeah, that's how we got to our stats. It's kind of a numbers game, right? Like we've done a lot of hackathons. And so I don't know, we've done what, like 30 hackathons between the two of us probably. Yeah, probably more. And so it's kind of like a numbers game here. The more that you do, the more you get better at this. It's a very useful skill, like the skill of rapid prototyping, because you can use that at work to drive innovation. Like, yeah, there's lots of spaces. So for the rest of the presentation, we want to focus a little bit more on giving you tools to succeed in the hackathon. So there's two sort of main ingredients, we call it, for a successful hackathon. One is use the right tools, and the second is have a good game plan.
Cool. So yeah, I'll go over a little bit about AI tools. Like if you haven't been following along with AIs and LLMs and all that stuff, like I encourage everyone to try it at least if you haven't. I know we have a very wide variety of backgrounds here in terms of AI usage, so I'll start in the very beginning, but and like go more in depth over time. But hopefully y'all will have taken something away from this. So I'll start with ChatGPT because we've all used ChatGPT, but how does ChatGPT actually work? So if you think about the sentence, the apple is blank, you could end the sentence in many different ways. And so what the AI models are doing under the hood is that they're picking and choosing certain words that are most likely to come next in a way that makes the sentence make sense. And this is what's going on, yeah, in the background. Before ChatGPT existed, there was an API that you could get into via a waitlist, and I like applied for this waitlist. So 1.5 years before ChatGPT came out, I got on the OpenAI API beta, private beta waitlist, and I got to play around with this stuff like way before a lot of folks did. Next slide, please. And so back in that day, when I wanted to do some sort of thing like ChatGPT, this is what I'd have to do. I'd have to send the API this text where I'm saying, this is a conversation between an AI assistant and a human. And I would have to write the AI parts too in the beginning where it says, hello, I'm an AI assistant. How can I help you? I write human colon, hello, what is 2 plus 2? AI colon. And that's what I would send. And so I would let it predict what the AI would say in that conversation to the language model. And so the language model would respond with AI colon, the answer is 4. But at the time, it wouldn't know when to stop. So um, it would like continue responding and say human colon what is 2 plus 3, and I didn't write that, but it would start like answering for me. And so, like nowadays we've got next slide please. Nowadays we've got like ChatGPT. This is like way more well refined. OpenAI have done a lot of work in order to make it like only respond with the answer and not try to predict the next part of the conversation. And so pop quiz, where we have this conversation where we ask the AI, like, what is 2 plus 2? What is 2 plus 3? And then we ask, what were the equations that I sent you? What is actually being sent to the API? What do you think, Christina, Didi?
Well, you can also feel free to put your guesses in the chat since we have that. But maybe I would guess it sends, the text that we've sent so far.
Yeah, so what it sends it is the whole conversation and the additional question at the end. So if you are paying for the API cost, your cost is actually going to increase exponentially because every time you respond with text, you're not only sending your message, you're sending the full conversation history. But if you like pay for a subscription, you don't have to worry about that as much. Um, so how does this work with code? Like a coding language is still a type of language. It's just we may not think of it that way, but it's doing kind of the similar thing. So it's predicting like what is the next word that makes sense for this function. Next slide, please. One tool that I use a lot is Codex. It's like this visual tool, kind of like ChatGPT, but like geared towards coding. And I'm just going to walk through like the different terminology that you would use to describe the different parts of the application. So the main chatting application is called the session. And on the left-hand side, you have a list of different sessions, meaning you can chat with the agent with multiple different sessions and instances of the agent on different projects, maybe multiple agents on the same project. And you can choose the model that's using. So this is the prediction engine. Sometimes you'll see like Codex 5.4 and also Codex the app. They reuse the names, but models you can think of anything that has like the version number is usually the model, and then sometimes they'll reuse the name. It's a bit confusing, but yeah, those are the models. And there are tools. So whenever you chat with a bot, you have to like think how do you convert chats into actual actions? And so there's this thing called tools. Under the hood, this looks like if you look at the bottom left, like the LLM, the language model may respond with like a JSON object that says tool, calculator, equation 2.2, 2 plus 2, and a separate process reads that JSON object and then goes and makes a request. So this would appear as like web search or editing your files or reading your files. This is what tools are. There's also MCPs, which are kind of like tools. I'm simplifying this a lot, but it's kind of like tools, but for authenticated applications. So if you want to get information from like Slack or a database or something, then you can use an MCP to like give your agent access to these things. But effectively, it's basically like kind of doing a tool call under the hood in simplification terms. There's also context. So if you've heard of like Claude MD or Agent MD files, these are files that your AI will read before the conversation starts. So something that I like to do a lot of the time is like in the project, I like to add like an Agent MD or a Claude MD file, depending on whether you're using Claude or not, and just say like follow the best clean code best practices, like write short functions and stuff like that. And that actually the AI will read that before you start asking it to code, and it will like keep that in mind. Codex also has like a personalization tab in the settings that effectively does the same thing. There's also skills. A lot of these like terminology of like special things like skills and all these other things, they're just markdown files at the end of the day, but they're triggered by like slash commands. So as you're chatting with the AI, you can use like slash and then a specific skill like a plugin. It's kind of like a plugin where it will read additional markdown files to then be able to do certain things or learn how to do certain things. So one that I would recommend is called like the superpowers skill. Once you install it, it has some like markdown files that give instructions on like best coding practices where it like does testing and then like implements your code and verifies that your code runs. A lot of people at my work end up actually using this skill, so I would recommend looking at it. And there are a lot of different AI tools, especially for students. If you look at like your university, I know Northeastern, I think, gives you Claude credits. Your schools might give you certain things. if you have a ChatGPT subscription, you can get Codex for free. If you have an EDU email, I believe you get Cursor, the IDE free, and for 1 year, and I think you can use the models as well. And I'd also recommend, if you want to run multiple agents at the same time for your project, looking at a project called Vibe Kanban.
Yeah, so that was a summary about ingredient one, which is the tools. And again, like definitely encourage you guys before the hackathon starts, right? Like you have a few days, go and download a few of these tools. Try Codex, try Copilot also. I think I heard Copilot is also free for EDU. Try Cursor. Because if there's one thing that we're noticing about the industry is that in this last year, the way that people approach hackathons has drastically changed. And I know last year, the hackathon that NLN organized was all around AI because of that. And so even if the theme of this hackathon isn't AI, it's definitely worth your while to play around with some of these AI tools and use it as an opportunity to learn. Ingredient two is planning. Make sure you have a plan for what you want to do this weekend. And so when I approach a hackathon, I usually start at the end. So at the end of the weekend, what you're going to need to do is present what you did. And you're going to present to judges like myself, and we're going to judge you on a base set of criteria. And so some mistakes that I've seen people do early on is, you get so excited about your idea and what you're building, you forget to think about the presentation or what you're pitching, or you get so attached to a particular solution, you might not fully think about like, is this problem the most impactful problem for me to be solving? And so these are the judging criteria for this hackathon. And make sure to read the fine print as well, right? Don't just read the title, innovation. Read like, okay, innovation means originality and creativity of the idea. But yeah, we have innovation, technical complexity, UX, user experience, and UI, user interface, impact and business potential, and the presentation and demo also counts as part of your deliverable at the end of the hackathon. So since we've gone through a lot of hackathons, one thing I wanted to play around with is like, is there a tool that we can give you guys to make this process easier? Like I said, like one of the mistakes I made earlier on was I'd spend so long just like working with the team, debating what we're going to build, like what programming language we're going to build. I don't know how many debates I've gotten into with Beenam about Python versus JavaScript for a project. And so you don't want to be spending like your whole Saturday just debating with your team, right? And so this is kind of my hackathon project from this weekend. It's all vibe coded. I haven't tested it with a bunch of people, but we're going to be very brave and try it out today. And so I'll share with you this link in a second. And we're going to do like breakout rooms and put you guys into the different teams that you're on. And so use this as an opportunity to like get to know each other, to start figuring out how to work together. And we're going to go through like a sample workflow of how you might come up with your plan for the hackathon. So in this app, we'll go through this hackathon workflow. So there will be a bunch of activities. On the left, you'll see like all of the activities that you're going to go through. And then at the top, you'll notice a timer. So I know we're a little bit behind, but roughly this will take 30 minutes. And the idea is you want to go through this whole flow, and by the end of it, have a plan for your hackathon that you can then kind of take as a starting point on this weekend. It won't be the exact topic that you're going through, so this will be more of an exercise, and you can repeat this again when you're getting started with the actual problem statement. But keep in mind the timer. And so the way that this is organized, if you've heard of this concept of divergent and convergent thinking, is the idea is when you're approaching any sort of challenge, you want to go through this process of like, first understand the problem, then think of the solution. Don't think like, oh, I want to build this app, or what is a problem I can solve with it? Because you want to build something impactful, so start with the problem. And when you do this, it's called this like double diamond. You want to do divergent thinking, which means like, think outside the box. There's no wrong answer. Like put all of your ideas out there. Like don't shut any idea down. So think as broad as you can, and then figure out how to filter down to something focused. It's like, okay, like that idea worked, that idea might not work. Okay, like, and at the end of this middle point, you should have clarity in terms of what the problem is that you're trying to solve. Once you know what problem you're trying to solve, then you start thinking about the solution. So again, you do this divergent thinking, like, okay, like what are all of the possible solutions I can have? And then once you have that, it's like, okay, how do we converge onto a particular solution? And so that's this here. So the brainstorming parts are the divergent thinking, and the problem statement and value proposition parts are like the convergence. So we'll kind of go through this together today. And also, like, I tried to think about the judging criteria as well here. So I know the order is a little bit confusing, but you don't necessarily start with technical complexity, right? So when you're at the beginning of the ideation, think about things like innovation and the impact. And then once you kind of figure out, like, okay, like this is the impact that I want to have, this is an innovative sort of idea, then you think about, okay, like what are the right technologies that I can use to solve this? Don't forget to think about the user experience as well. Oh, I don't know how that happened, but don't forget to think about the user experience as well, because you'll want to plan out what your UI is going to be, how someone is going to use your app. And you know how I showed you with like my Parkable app, we tested it with real people. You can do that in a hackathon. Like we've encouraged, I think one of the hackathons I mentored, I got like a team to like user test their app as well before the like on the Saturday. So you can definitely do that as well. So yeah, so think about the judging criteria. Also think about the hackathon theme, right? So the hackathon theme, the overall theme here is mental health. I know the specific problem statement is still like top secret and it's going to be revealed soon. But for the purposes of today's workshop, just think about the space of mental health. Okay, so these are kind of our ingredients for a successful hackathon. Let's jump into the workshop. I think that's, oh, I have a few more slides. Let's finish these slides and then we'll jump to the workshop. So if we want to run over, we can do that. Yeah, I think this is.
So for a successful hackathon, there's always two questions that we always ask ourselves. The first question is, what is one thing you want to change in yourself? And the second question is, what is one thing you want to change in the world? So always think of like these two things. These are the things that we always think about whenever we start a hackathon, in terms of like what we want, what do we want to achieve today?
Yeah, and like we said earlier, right? The hackathon is just the starting line, whether you're type A or type B, and whether you want to continue the project that you're working on, or whether you want to join coding communities and use this as a way to connect with people. After the hackathon is over on Sunday night, after you're done with your presentations, take a breath, but then use that energy to figure out what you're going to do next. What are you going to do on Monday? Or what are you going to do on the next Saturday and Sunday? So use this as a starting point, a launch point for your adventures. Yeah, and most importantly, have fun, right? Good luck. Good luck on the hackathon itself. I will switch over to the workshop. I'm going to like briefly explain what we're going to do, and then we'll kind of break you guys out into breakout rooms. If you have questions, you can feel free to put it in the chat for us as well, and we'll kind of like answer them as we're going. Let me see if I can share this. Can you see this screen? Can you see my browser?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you?
Okay. So this we'll give you like this URL, this beginning URL, and then we'll ask you to join the team by the
I
number.
can't see the URL, by the way.
Oh, you can't.
It's been cut off.
Mm,
You want to just post it on the chat?
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me post it on the, but I don't want people to join it yet. So,
Oh, okay.
okay. I will share this top secret URL with you in just a minute. But what you'll do is when you join, you put in your name and email just to make sure you're a real person. And then once you get, oops, I think I already started this one. Let me do a new one. Sorry. Okay. So once you join, you will see all of your team members over here. Once everyone is in, you can click start. I think if people join late, they'll get automatically added, but if you have issues, let me know. And then on the left here, these will be all of the steps. So we'll start with introductions. So we'll kind of, oh, this is kind of boring because there's only one person here, but you'll kind of like, I'm just introducing myself, but we'll kind of go around everyone, just like quickly introduce yourself. I know this timer is going to go fast, and the idea is to keep up the energy and try to keep up with it as much as you can. If you really, really need it, you can press pause. But I encourage you to just, even if you don't get done with it, for the purposes of today, you just want to go through the motions and get to know each other as a team and kind of get your brain working, like starting up the engine. So yeah, you complete through these steps. And then this first part, again, is a divergent thinking. So we'll say, like, given the hackathon theme, which is mental health, like, what are some problems you can solve? So I don't know, you can put things in the chat. I don't know, loneliness. I don't know how to spell that. This is very intimidating doing live as well. But I'll just put in some sample words because I can't think of anything right now. Okay, so once a bunch of people put in your brainstorms, what you'll do is you'll kind of group them together. So this is so that if there's like multiple people that put in the same thing, you can you can select things and then you can drag them together. You can rename your group to make more sense. This is important because in the next step, what we're going to do is, remember, we did our divergent thinking. Now we're trying to converge back. And so as part of this, the next step is you're going to vote. So everyone will get 3 votes. What is the problem you think has the most potential for this hackathon? So you can vote on one thing more than once or complete that. And then as a group, you'll kind of discuss, like, okay, like, these are the topics that we came up with. Which one do we think has the most potential? And then as a group, you'll select, okay, these are our top 3. And then you'll do another half a minute vote. So don't think too much. Just like, which is the one thing that you think is most important? You'll complete that. And then as a group, you'll pick one problem. So at the end of this part, you have basically like I picked Apple as my problem. This will be the problem that you want to solve. And so we have like a few like, what is the pain point? Apples are sour. Who is this a problem for? Christina. Let's see. I mean, you would say like students or teachers or whatever. Why is it important to solve? Christina likes sweets. Because Christina likes sweets. So again, at the end of this part, now you have clearly defined your problem. You've defined your what, why, and who. And now you're ready to think about your solution. So given these problems, what are the solutions that you can come up with? And so I don't know, like, come up with a bunch of solutions, and then you kind of repeat that process. So individuals brainstorm, and then you'll kind of do the grouping together. Oh, I think there might be some bugs. If there are, just bear with it, kind of ignore it. And so then you kind of group things again, and then you go through the voting phase. So everyone's going to vote. You pick your top 3 as a group, and then you'll go through a second round of 30-second voting where you pick your top one. Once you're done with that, as a group, you'll select, okay, this is the one thing, this is the one solution that I'm going to, I don't know if these are good examples, but this is the solution that I'm going to address during this hackathon. So then now you already have your problem. Now let's also focus in your solution. So what is the solution to apples being sour? We will make apple pie. Make apple pie. What is that thing about lemonade? What technologies are you going to use? An oven, baking, right? Like in this case, like, think about, like, are you going to use a web app? Are you going to make a mobile app? Are you going to use JavaScript or Python? Like, have this discussion here and try to get to some sort of direction. You can also think about, I'm going to use this like AI coding tool or whatever that is. And then this one, I'm just putting in here as like, think about when you're going to test your prototype and presentation. Don't wait till the last second. Think about like maybe early Sunday morning, you just test everything you have, put everything together, like start to polish things up way before you're ready, right? So I'm just gonna say Sunday morning so that the whole team is on the same page. And then lastly, you combine all of these in order to have like one sentence description of what your project is going to be. So I'm going to say our apple pie recipe helps people who are struggling with sour apples so that they can make a sweet. So that's basically like that is the output. That's the main output of this whole process. So you'll kind of like wrap up here, and then at the end of it, you'll have a summary. So you can go and click download the PDF, and then you can use this as like a starting point for when you do start the hackathon. That way you're like not spending a lot of time thinking about this. of course, you don't know the exact problem statement today, so it's more of an exercise today. But once you've gone through this today, you can also use it once the problem statement is known, in order to kind of go through and do your planning. Okay, great. So that is a short rundown. I think we're ready to do the breakout rooms. So what I will do is I will post the link in Zoom. Oh, I think it copied. I just want to post the text. Paste without, I just want to paste without the URL. Okay, well, it might take you to the, don't click on the link, copy paste it, and then put in your test team number. Sorry, I know you don't see what I'm typing. So like, for example, if you were like team 100, oh, wait, one second. One second. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to delete that. We're going to do room, we're going to do hack, and then put in the number. So like hack 100. Something like this. So like if you were team 1, you'd do, hack 1. And if you guys get stuck, we'll be like around and we're going